So, talk of takeovers, tickets, and Torres may have dominated the football headlines around Anfield all year, but just how was 2007 for the supporters of Liverpool Football Club? On this first ever edition of Kop Talking, we're asking that very question, and here to hopefully provide some insight into what it was like to follow the Reds over the past 12 months are two supporters responsible for two of the best fanzine covering the club right now. They're Dave Usher from the Liverpool Way and Chris Murphy from Boss, which is the new fanzine on the block. Welcome to the show, lads, first of all. 2007 for you, first of all. What did it bring for you? What kind of year do you look back on it as?
Mixed, really. I mean, the year started quite well, you know, the Champions League run and getting to Athens, and then, you know, for me, since then, it's just all gone a bit pear-shaped, but the first half of the year was good, and then second half, not so good.
Would you concur with that, Chris?
Yeah, fully. The thing which stands out most for myself is the American takeover. And shortly after the turn of the new year, obviously it was a big thing, a lot of money pumped into the club, and then culminating in Athens in the final of the Champions League.
Because it was very eventful of you sort of take a look back to 11, 12 months ago. There was lots of talk about not enough investment coming into the club, possibly, as mentioned there, a takeover to come. It certainly was a dawn for Liverpool, wasn't it, to say things probably need to change if we're going to be able to maintain a top four finish? Yeah,
but you know, whether it's enough and whether it will change remains to be seen, but it was like a monumental thing. You know, David Moore's selling the club, and we've always had shareholders and that, and now it's not. It's just, you know, we've got sole owners, well, two of them, but you know, we'll just have to see how that goes. But it was like a real massive point in the club's history, you know, which will be looked back on in years to come, I think.
How will you look back, Chris, on the pitch affairs from 2007?
On the pitch, I mean, obviously we did very well to reach the Champions League final for the second time under Benitez. I thought we were pretty unfortunate, maybe, to get beaten the start we did. This season, we've made a good start, maybe in the league. Tailed off a little bit towards Christmas. Signings made a very good impression, particularly Torres, other players like Ben. I think we're going in the right direction. Maybe a change of attitude toward the league, rather than, I don't know, Benitez seems to prefer managing and playing in Europe.
Dave, for you, on the pitch, a good year?
Yeah, mixed, really. I mean, you know, we'll go looking like world beaters one week, and then the next week it just, you know, like you look at what happens at Reading. We were on a great run, and we went there, and you look at the scoreline there, and you wouldn't have believed that would have happened before the game. So it's just frustrating that you don't know what you're going to get from us half the time. But, you know, on a good day, we look as good as anybody. You know, the new signings have all settled in well. Torres looks great, Babel's looking really good. You know, Ben, he's not a world beater, but he's for what we paid for him and the job he's been brought in, I think he's done well as well. And Lucas looks a really good player.
I agree with Dave. I mean, the foundations of the team are absolutely brilliant. The spine of the team is as good as any in the division, from the goalkeeper to the centre-halves, the midfielder, and of course Torres up front. So it's just maybe a little bit of fine-tuning here and there, but I don't think we're a million miles away.
You look around the Premiership, they're all trying to do similar things. When you look at the signing of Lucas Leiva, for example, you know, a player that's captain the under-20s. If you look across the Premiership, they're all trying to get players in of that kind of age group, aren't they, for the sort of deferred gratification, if you like?
Yeah, maybe that's one disappointment of the season so far, and maybe over the last few seasons, the amount of players which haven't been coming through, particularly local players. I don't know if it's something to do with the training methods, or maybe they're just not good enough, but that seems the route which we're going down, to actually go abroad and buy these young players.
It's a big talking point at the moment, isn't it, the development of young players?
I just think that, you know, the players coming through now are as good as they always were, but it's just an impossible environment for them now, because you can't blame the clubs. I mean, if all the other clubs are going out and signing the best young players from all around the world, you've got to do it to compete. I mean, and then you can't throw kids in the team, because there's so much at stake with every game. So, you know, there's good players coming through, but they're just finding it hard to get opportunities to play. But hopefully, you know, that'll change in the future, but it's going to be hard for them to come through.
One thing that he mentions there about players being as good as they ever were, I mean, we still lack these Owens and Fowlers coming through at any club level, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, they're an absolute steal when they happen, aren't they? Because, of course, you know, you look at like a Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, McManaman, the big players, you know, they come on to be, you know, fully England internationals. Hopefully one might come through, you know, Jack Hobbs, he's getting a game now and again, centre-back. It is a bit disappointing now, isn't it, the lack of England players, but I think that can be said for the whole division, and not particularly at Liverpool.
I think it's a different show, that one, isn't it, probably, the English players coming through, and fans love them, don't they? Anyway, let's get on to Player of the Year then, for 2007, a player that you look back on and say, for me, he was the main man for us. Is there one that sticks out and you say, it's got to be him?
Fernando Torres, isn't it? What a signing. I mean, in my opinion, they should have signed someone like him a few years ago, rather than spending 10 million here and there on the likes of Diouf, you know, Bellamy, Cisse as well. I mean, what a disappointment. I think it was really good to it sent out a statement, you know, a message of intent to go and spend £20 million on a striker, and so far it looks good business.
Was it a risk, Torres, do you think?
It's always a risk when you're spending big money. I mean, I've got to be honest, I never thought he was as great as like other people seem to think. I thought, you know, he's a very good player and that, but he's surprised me. He's better than I thought he was. You know, I'm happy to be proved wrong on that. But again, he's going to look great depending on, you know, who we're playing against. If teams defend high up the pitch and he's got space, he's absolutely lethal. But if you defend deep and restrict the space, then it's harder for him. But, you know, I'm sure he'll adapt his game to that. But he's made a fantastic start.
No coincidence that there's an even bigger spotlight on managers, not just Rafa Benitez, but any manager that spends that amount of money. You know, it's all right working on a shoestring, people say you do a great job, but then you bring a player in for 20 odd million quid and they say, is he doing well enough? Yeah,
well, the thing which has impressed me about Torres the most, of course, his ability has never been under question, but his attitude, you know, he's really uptight, close to defenders. He's, you know, niggling little fouls, if you like, and he's, I don't know, I think he enjoys it, you know, the hustle and bustle, absolutely upsetting the defenders.
The Reading game was a perfect example, wasn't it? Where
getting amongst it, and getting fouled, but he got back up again.
Yeah, he won't be bullied by anyone. You know, he gives as good as he gets, which a lot of strikers can go missing when they get kicked a few times, but he seems to thrive on it.
And he's been used to it. We did an interview with him on this channel where he said at 14 he was a superstar where he comes from. So the fact that he's come to a big club, another big club, and there's so much expectation, that doesn't seem to bother him either, does it?
No.
No, he's got a great attitude, you can see that. He wouldn't be my player of the year though, I mean, that's Chris's choice. For me, I go for Reina. I mean, with player of the year, it's easy to say, you know, Steven Gerrard, because all the great things he does, but for me, I always want to go for someone who's like every week is at a certain level. So, you know, the likes of Steve Finnan, you know, that's my kind of player when I'm looking at player of the year. But for me, it's got to be Reina. You know, he had a bad spell 2006, you know, the mistake he made in the derby, a couple of others, but over 2007 he's been phenomenal. He's just a great goalkeeper. It's not just, you know, he saves penalties or he's a good shot stopper. It's just his command of his box, sweeps up behind the defence, and his distribution's brilliant as well, you know, starting attacks. I don't think like we could replace him with anybody as good or better. I think he's like the best we could have, really.
And he's really young as well. I mean, if you look at one of the England goalkeepers at the moment, Scott Carson, he can't get a game for us, can he?
It ultimately cost him his Liverpool career, didn't it? Just how well, as you say.
Through no fault of his own, just because Reina is so good. You know, he's got a real sense of calm at the back. His distribution is perfect. I think he's a very big player for us.
Does the manager need to take a little bit of credit for that? Because there was a big clamour when, as you mentioned before, Reina was going through a bit of a tough spell and people were saying take him out. The manager stuck with him and he played his way through that patch, didn't he?
Yeah, he deserves credit for sticking with him, and Reina deserves credit for, you know, not letting the mistakes affect him. I mean, you know, you see some goalkeepers, remember David James, he'd make a mistake and it'd play on his mind for weeks and he'd make more mistakes. Whereas Reina, he makes a mistake and it's like, okay, that's gone, and he just gets on with his game. He just didn't let it affect him at all. It's just, he's a strong character.
Yeah, I agree.
Is he right up there with Liverpool greats already? Do you think Liverpool goalkeepers you look back on, the likes of Clem and Grobbelaar, people like that?
He's got to do it over a longer period of time, but based on what he's done so far, I don't think he could ask for any more than what he's done.
He's not in the headlines much though, is he? I mean, fans sometimes can take him for granted.
Isn't it? You know, that's a testament to how well he marshals the defence. And if he was getting goals scored past him left, right and centre, he would be in the papers. But, you know, it's very unnoticed, isn't it? Which I think can only be a good thing.
He doesn't have to make great saves because he sees the danger early, you know, and when he is called upon, he's ready. But a Liverpool goalkeeper doesn't have to make loads of great saves during the game. They've just got to be ready when they're needed, and that's the great thing about him, is his concentration.